Baseball on CSN Chicago is presented by State Farm. Overcast night here in Pittsburgh as the Cubs open up their final road trip of the regular season. First of 7, 4 here, and then 3 in Cincinnati. And welcome to Cubs baseball here on CSN. Jim Deshaies and Len Kasper. What an exciting night last night as the Cubs beat the Cardinals to win that series 2 out of 3. And the accomplishments are incredible this year, and we're going to list some of them. Very rare in Cubs history.
Yeah, they're now 43 games over 500. They're guaranteed to have the best record in baseball this year. They won 99 games, the most since 1935, 97-plus wins for consecutive years for the first time since a run back in the early 1900s, and they clinched the NL Central way back on September 15th, the earliest in team history. 12-3 this year against this Pirate team.
They also have the 2 top guys in the major leagues in earned run average. John Lester won again last night. Kyle Hendricks will start tonight. He gets 2 more total as he tries to win an ERA title.
Yeah, it's quite a battle, isn't it? As these guys play, anything you can do, I can do better. Lester brilliant again last night. And we take a look at Kyle Hendricks' little snapshot going back to June 19th. 16 starts, 11-2 with a 1.37 ERA. He's pitched twice against Pittsburgh this year. He's allowed just 1 run in those 2 starts.
Right-hander Chad Kuhl will start for the Pirates. They have their backs against the wall. They're tied for 4th in the wild card. 4.5 out with 7 to go. So they really need to win out and get some help as well. And a tough matchup for their offense tonight as they battle the Major League ERA leader. Kyle Hendricks tries to lead the Cubs to win number 100 next.
Brought to you in part by your Chicago area and Northwest Indiana Lexus dealer, who invites you to test drive a Lexus today. Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Illinois. Through it all. Ford, inviting you to check out their fuel-efficient lineup at your local Ford store or at localfordstores.com. And by Southwest Airlines. Transparency. Low fares. Nothing to hide.
Welcome back to Pittsburgh, and Chris Bryant, one of the most popular Cubs wherever we go, and there's a lot of Cubs blue in the stands behind the first base dugout. Cubs wrapping up the regular season with a 7-game trip here to Pittsburgh and to Cincinnati. We had a threat of rain earlier, but looks like we're okay for now. Always seems like rain is a threat when we come to PNC Park. And as I mentioned in the open, the Pirates probably aren't going to make it unless something weird happens this week. And we always kind of leave the door open because they are mathematically still alive, but 4.5 out with 7 to go. This will be the first time they will have not made it, if they fall short, in 4 seasons. They've been in that wild card game each of the last 3 years, losing to the Cubs in the wild card game here last year. So the updated wild card standings: Mets 1 up on the Giants. Cardinals lost 2 of 3 in Chicago, but they have a favorable schedule, JD. They're home all week.
Yeah, they have struggled at home this year, but certainly you like their chances as they return home to play bottom of the division clubs. Final week of the season, that's kind of been the storyline with the Mets too, a soft schedule, but they were swept by the Braves in a series in their home ballpark. You never know. It's a wacky game that way. And you never know how it's going to play out, but yeah, the one thing I certainly agree with you on is that the likelihood that this Pittsburgh team is able to sneak in is what, 0.39.292%.
A lot of points.
Yeah, they don't have a very good chance.
Cubs will try to put some points on the board tonight as we check in on their Southwest starting lineup against rookie right-hander Chad Kuhl. Chris Coghlan will be in the leadoff spot. Bryant, Rizzo, Contreras. Look at what Anthony has done this year against the Pirates. Jason Hayward moving up. He'll hit 5th tonight. Addison Russell bats 6th. Albert Almora Jr. in center in the 7th spot. Javi Baez at 2nd for Ben Zobrist. And Kyle Hendricks will hit 9th.
And the Pirates will be deployed this way. And it's brought to you by Arby's. You see no Marte, no Polanco in the outfield. Frazier left, McCutcheon center. Josh Bell will play right tonight. Infield of Dunn, Mercer, Rodriguez, the utility man who can play just about anywhere on the field. John Jasos, the first baseman. Francisco Cervelli is the catcher. In the Lexus Pursuing Perfection starting pitcher is a rookie right-hander by the name of Chad Kuhl, making his 13th start. 5-3 with a 3.73. He's allowed 2 or fewer in 7 of his last 9.
And here we go as Chris Coghlan takes a strike, and the leadoff man is presented by Binny's Beverage Depot. If Coghlan gets a hit in this plate appearance, Binny's will donate $100 to the Greater Chicago Food Depository. Quickly 0-2.
Kuhl, 24 years of age, 6'3", 215, out of the University of Delaware. Cubs have seen him a couple of times already this year. He goes fastball, slider, change, likes his sinker more than his four-seam fastball.
2-2 on Coghlan in the leadoff spot for Dexter Fowler tonight. And guess what?
What?
It's cool tonight. 65 degrees as we get underway.
It was kind of warm and humid earlier today. There was some rain in the area. It's taking some of the humidity out of the air.
He walked him after an 0-2 start. Joliet, Illinois native. Mark Carlson's behind the plate. Quinn Wolcott is at first. Chris Guccione's at second, and the crew chief Brian Gorman will handle third. Chris Bryant with a man on, nobody out, just getting started. Bounced foul past third. Chris sitting on 99 RBIs. Did not knock in a run over the weekend against St. Louis. Tied for second in the National League in home runs. Nolan Arenado has 40. Chris tied with another Chris Carter with 38. Broken bat pop fly out into right center. Josh Bell will make the catch for the first out.
Well, no luck this time for Bryant, but He's been good in this ballpark. .413 batting average here at PNC Park. 26 out of 63. But this time he cracks his bat and he's out. The atmosphere is a little different in the ballpark here than it was in Chicago.
And when we were last here in early July.
They've gone into a move on mode here. Thoughts turning to Steeler football and the likes.
Outside for a ball.
Riz has done some damage in this big ballpark.
Cubs have won 12 of 15 this year against the Pirates. So right there, if you look at the Pirates' 3-12 mark against the Cubs, if they had squeaked out, 2 or 3 more wins, they'd be very much in the wild card race. Long pause by the right-hander in the pitch. It's a strike. Bottom part of the zone. 1-1. Pirates are a little banged up. Josh Harrison's season ended a couple of weeks ago. Groin injury, swing and a miss on a changeup. Got some day-to-day injuries. Starling Marte bothered recently by a back issue. Gregory Polanco with a facial contusion. And that'll get out of play off to the left. Well, when I say day-to-day here in the final week of the season, that almost means season ending. Line shot, fair ball, right field corner. Coughlin on his way to third. Rizzo to second. He's got a double. Cubs in business.
He chased that one changeup. This time they try to beat him with an inside fastball, and he's just not going to let him in there. Some words for the boys as he heads down the first base line. Anthony was 10 out of 32 on the homestand. So he continues to just clip along here. It's impressive, the Cubs clinched and ended up losing that series to Milwaukee. They kind of, you would expect the team to maybe back off the gas pedal a little bit for a couple of days. Joe had that meeting with his guys, said, hey, let's get back after it, and boom, they go out and they've won 5 out of 6 since. Swept the Reds, took 2 out of 3 from the Cardinals.
Wilson Contreras. Couple of home runs this past week, including what was the longest homer at Wrigley this season, Monday against the Reds, 461 feet. Landed on Waveland. He homered again on Saturday against St. Louis. 1 ball, no strikes. Infield back. Gong at third, maybe in a couple of steps. He could throw to the plate. I assume Coughlin will go on contact.
Well, certainly go anything to the middle of the diamond with the middle infielders back into the first base side.
On the inside corner. 1-1.
This is an opportunity for Contreras to drive in a couple. You change your approach as the at-bat moves along. You get a couple of strikes on you. You go, okay, just shorten up, put it in play, make sure I get 1 home. that's, that meeting Madden had with his guys. That's what it was all about. Let's just, refocus, make sure we have good at bats, respect the process.
Just keep on playing until the final out. And this team has done that all year. Really, the nadir of the season, the bottom point was when we were last here, right before the All-Star break. The Cubs had dropped 15 of 20. They weren't losing a grip on their lead. It had gotten down to about 6.5, I believe, over the Pirates. But that was it, that one bad 3-week stretch. And as Contreras draws the walk.
Everything in on Contreras. He doesn't bite. Cool. He's going to deal with the bases loaded situation. Yeah, the Sunday game, had they lost that game, I think they would have been 5.5 out, or 5.5 up heading into the break. Which would have gotten, I imagine Cub fans would have gotten a little nervous at that point. I don't know what the reaction in the clubhouse would have been. Probably not so much nervous.
Jason Hayward with 3 on and 1 out. Now the Pirates would like to turn 2. Going way off the line at third. And ball 1.
Yeah, cool throwing that 2-seam fastball, trying to induce a ground ball from Hayward. Lefty's batting .279 against the rookie Cool right-handed batters .211. He was 6-3 with a .237 ERA, 16 starts at AAA. Less heralded than a couple of their other big prospects, Jamison Tyone, who we will see in this series, and Tyler Glasnow, who we will not. But Cool's performed very well, and there's the breakdown. Against the Buccos this year, they've really dominated this season series, and that's the case just about every matchup for this Cubs team.
One ball, 1 strike on Hayward. And a drive out into deep right center. It is going to be run down by Bell. Everybody tagging. Throw to second. Contreras is in. Coghlan scores. Sac fly, Jason Hayward. And the Cubs lead 1-0.
Well, Chris Coghlan in the role of Dexter Fowler here tonight. It's kind of like when you go to a Broadway play and there's a stand-in. Performing the role of leadoff man today will be Chris Coghlan. And people are disappointed. Oh, man, the star's not, it's not Fowler. But he got the job done. He did what Fowler does so often, get on and score.
Yeah, the understudy did exactly what the everyday star does. Got on base and scored. Addison Russell takes a strike. Hi, Dexter. Enjoying the night off as he cheers on his teammates. 0-1 to Russell is outside. 1 ball, 1 strike. Second and third, 2 outs. Cubs lead 1-0. Deep breath by Cool, and the pitch is off the plate inside. Tailing fastball, 2-1.
It's kind of the narrative around the Pirates pitching staff the last few years. Pitch to contact. They don't get a lot of strikeouts. Ground ball pitchers for the most part, and work hard inside. You're seeing it from Cool here tonight. Really committed to throwing that fastball in on the right-handed hitters.
Tap foul behind the plate. Pitch number 26 of the first inning. Is on its way. Foul territory. Jaso looks like he's got room. And that will and the Cubs first, but they utilize a couple of walks, a Rizzo double, a Hayward sac fly, and they lead 1-0. The starting lineup written out by Clint Hurdle. They get on base a fair amount. John Jaso, the first baseman, will take his walks. Josh Bell, the rookie, is in right for Polanco. Andrew McCutchen having a nice month of September. Always does well against the Cubs, it seems. Jung Ho Kang is playing third and cleaning up. Sean Rodriguez at second. Cervelli, the catcher. Adam Frazier in left. Jordy Mercer, the shortstop. And the pitcher, Chad Kuhl.
Cubs defensively, and it's brought to you by Arby's. Big outfield to cover here, and that responsibility falls to the trio of Coghlan, Almora Jr. and Hayward. Infield figures to get a lot of work with Hendricks on the mound. Bryant, Russell, Baez, Rizzo. Contreras behind the plate. Lexus starting pitcher Kyle Hendricks. There's the first pitch of the ball game, and of course it's strike one. It's always strike one, seemingly, with Kyle Hendricks. 15-8 with a 2.06, making his 29th start. He has appeared once out of the bullpen.
1-1 on Jaso. So Kyle starts tonight, and he'll also get the season finale in Cincinnati on Sunday. Ground ball to the second baseman, knocked down by Baez, and he's got time to recover. You don't have that luxury when you're playing on the other side of second base, but no panic. One away.
And Jaso, an extreme ground ball hitter, so that's a fairly predictable outcome too. Hendricks on the mound, Jaso in the box. Ball hit on the ground sharply. A little mishandle there by Baez, but recovers in time to get the long-haired one.
Switch hitting Josh Bell, who takes up a lot of that batter's box. Just 3 for his last 24, but what a start to his career in July against the Cubs. That big debut weekend. Didn't even start, but certainly made an impact. Pinch hit single off Jake Arrieta in his debut. Pinch hit grand slam the next night off Adam Warren, and then a pinch hit walk and a run against John Lackey. The last Cub to lead the majors in earned run average, Hank Borowy, 1945. He had a 214. Bell singles into left. And the Pirates have a base runner.
A pretty good approach against Kyle, especially for a left-handed hitter, to think middle or other way. With that good changeup and sinker combination. Bell tries to pull that. Nothing good's going to happen for him.
Nice hand for McCutchen. And he takes a strike. A very emotional night tonight in Miami as the Marlins are playing their first game since the tragic death of Jose Fernandez. Their game yesterday against the Braves was canceled. The entire team is wearing number 16, the Fernandez jersey. And after tonight, the owner Jeffrey Loria announced no Marlin will ever wear number 16 again. And Dee Gordon against the Mets, Bartolo Colon just hit a leadoff home run, and I guess was crying as he rounded the bases. Very, very emotional, bittersweet night for the Marlins. Swing and a miss by McCutchen. It's 1-2. Marlins and Pirates have the same record, tied for 4th in the wild card race.
It's been a tough year for McCutchen, but he's having a strong finish. 13-game hitting streak going, having a nice month of September. But his night is not off to a good start. Kyle Hendricks making his 3rd start against the Pirates this year, and the previous 2 were outstanding. On August 30th, he went 7 shutout against them, allowed just 3 hits. June 19th, he struck out 12, didn't walk anybody in 6 innings of 1-run ball. That established a career high for him in terms of strikeouts. He matched that against St. Louis back on August 13th. But he had them in that particular game just flailing at that changeup.
Contreras snaps a toss to first. Bell is back in time.
It's a good looking pitch. Maybe just off the corner a little bit. Contreras loves to throw to the bases. Yeah, should have been a strike.
Gong with a bouncer to Bryant. He'll take the short throw to Baez as the baseball world mourns the loss of 24-year-old Jose Fernandez. Underway in the second, a called strike on Albert Almora Jr. playing center tonight. 0-2. A reminder, Cubs baseball on CSN Chicago is presented by State Farm. Roller foul up along third.
Joe Madden talking before the ball game this afternoon about his strategy going forward here, and he wants to give his guys some rest. At the same time, try to keep them sharp. So with Hendricks on the mound, a ground ball guy, I thought it was a good idea to, as he said, run out his varsity infield, but rest a couple of his outfielders.
21st major league start for Albert. Cool pulled that fastball off the outside edge. You mentioned he's Delaware native. From Middletown in Delaware. Swing and a miss on good slider at 86.
Unforgettable games, undeniable greatness, and unstoppable drama. The 2016 postseason begins October 4th. Go to MLB.com/postseason for a full schedule. It all starts October 4th. When will it end?
1-0 on Javier Baez. Make it 1-1.
Yeah, that's a little slider cutter combo pitch is a good one, especially against right-handed hitters. We noted this last time he pitched against the Cubs. He looks like the kind of guy that would benefit from a curveball as well. If he could flip up a little curveball, just change the look for the hitter from time to time.
He beat Clayton Kershaw in his major league debut earlier this season. Pitched and played first base in high school. Here comes his 1-2, and Baez stays alive. What a night last night. David Ross, 4 standing ovations from the crowd at Wrigley Field, 2 curtain calls, 1 game-winning home run. And that place was loud. I mean, it's a regular season. It's a big Sunday night game against the Cardinals. But it felt a little bit like a dress rehearsal for October.
Yeah, well, that's been the vibe at the ballpark all year long, has been so good.
So let's go back 24 hours. Our Xfinity high-speed action. And I actually think that the whole David Ross weekend, and fans very well aware that it was his final home series in the regular season as a major league player. I think the video boards, JD, and the way the Cubs tactfully used them during games actually helped get the crowd into it, because they had a couple of video montages, you know, before the game in honor of Ross. They had a shot in the left field board of Ross kind of tearing up in the dugout. They would have had standing ovations even if the boards didn't exist. But my point is, if you're sitting at the ballpark and you look up at the board and you can see in the dugout, you can't really see in the dugout without that board. And I think it just kind of elevated the entire thing. 2-2. Baez cranks one to left, and he pulled it. Wow. Foul, but hit it about 450 feet.
Rather Gary Sheffield like right there.
It was. So I'm not, you know, huge on a lot of loud music and all kinds of weird light displays and the like. I do think that the video boards this weekend at Wrigley kind of elevated the whole scene.
Yeah. Get a chance to get a close-up of a guy reacting in a dugout. Well, and it just speaks to you know, the David Ross personality. Here's a guy. He's the second year with the team. He's a backup catcher. But to be that popular, because of the way he has handled himself, and obviously the Cubs have done a lot of winning since he has joined this ball club, and he's been an important piece. But it's the narrative coming out of the clubhouse.
Ooh, that one deflected off the pitcher, Cool, right to the shortstop, Mercer. So Cool wins that long battle as Baez kept fouling off pitches. It was a 12-pitch at bat, and it'll go 1-6-3. Let's see where it got him. Oof, a foot.
Sounds like the shoe, yeah. Little kick save, a redirect, and Mercer there to handle the carom. That's a good at bat by Baez. Real good at bat. Didn't get the result he was looking for. He loosened his shoelaces with that line drive.
So Kyle Hendricks takes ball one. Reference the last Cub to lead the majors in ERA was Hank Borowy in 1945. Pretty decent chance a Cub will lead this year. Hendricks is the leader, but the guy right on his tail is John Lester, who has one more start. Two bounces to a backpedaling Gong, and he makes the play. Cubs go down 1-2-3, but I wouldn't say quietly. Baez gave Cool a nice battle. 1-0 Cubs in the second. With a 17-0 win over the Phillies to grab the wild card lead, the Red Sox. They're pretty hot right now, huh? They've won 11 in a row, and the Dodgers clinched the National League West fourth consecutive season. They have won the West in what was Vin Scully's final home game as a team broadcaster. And here's the home run tonight from D. Gordon to lead off the bottom of the first. Sean Rodriguez takes a curve from Kyle Hendricks for a strike.
Now what a moment. Everybody wearing the Fernandez jersey for the Marlins.
On a bounce, Baez with good range will make the play.
Saw some of the Marlin players up banging the top of the dugout rail there, reminiscent of Jose Fernandez.
Wow. One strike on Francisco Cervelli. Leads all major league catchers with a .372 on base average. Did not play yesterday. Got hit on the wrist by a foul ball Saturday. Back in there tonight. 4 days ago he homered off Chase Anderson of the Brewers, his first home run since September 30th of last year. Almost a calendar year between homers. And Cervelli strikes out. The changeup. That's the bread and butter for Kyle Hendricks.
Yeah, and he'll manipulate that changeup. He'll cut it away from a right-hander, but sometimes he'll play it straight and just run it in under their hands. But rarely will he leave it on the plate, especially in a two-strike or a deep count situation.
Frazier playing left.
Kyle, in his last 5 road starts, 4-0 with a 1.62 ERA. For the year, a break-even record 6-6, 2.90 the road ERA. As I mentioned, much better of late.
3-0 on the rookie Frazier, appearing in his 61st game of the year.
Kyle actually lost his last start, but was really good. Struck out 9 Brewers in 6 innings, did not walk a man, allowed 2 runs, got beat. Final score 3-1 in that ball game. He has not lost back-to-back starts since June 7th and 13th.
Back in at 3-2 on Frazier with Jordy Mercer on deck. The pitch. We'll try it again. Frazier, a Mississippi State product. Slicing drive to left. Coughlin will run out of room.
Frazier, in his minor league numbers, he's a guy who's hit for average, worked a good on base percentage. He'll take a walk. He's not hit for power.
Another 3-2, and there's a little power as Hayward goes back on the warning track.
Don't you dare make a liar out of me.
You were a little worried.
Wow, yeah.
We've completed 2 from the Berg. Cubs 1, Pirates nothing.
Sandberg's favorite restaurant in Chicago is the legendary Harry Carey's Italian Steakhouse. Go where Rhino goes for Chicago's best prime steaks in River North, Rosemont, or Lombard. Call 773-HOLY-COW or visit harrycareys.com.
Chris Coghlan takes a strike. He walked to start the game and scored on the Hayward sacrifice fly.
Carlson a little generous off the outside edge there for Mr. Cool.
Tough day for Chris yesterday. Former teammate of Jose Fernandez, Jorge Soler. Had known Fernandez since they were about 11 years old in Cuba. That is a fair ball. And Coghlan is out 2-3. Cervelli pounced on it.
Pounced it. He kind of pounced on Coghlan as well.
Nothing's going to get in the way between a catcher and a fair ball, right? With a batter right there in the box.
Get on that thing before it spins foul.
No pass interference called. Slider strike called on Bryant. How about a home run here? Just get that 99th or the 100th RBI thing out of the way. I'd love to hit a couple homers this week to get to 40, I'm sure.
You know he's good for a couple in Cincinnati.
You would think. He's hit 10 against the Reds this year.
Well, I mentioned the good work he's done here in this ballpark. He has not hit a home run here.
Swing and a miss, strike 3. Second strikeout for Mr. Cool.
Plan your spring travel to Sloan Park in Mesa, Arizona with Cubs destinations. Spring training packages include game tickets, hotel accommodations, rental car, Cubs swag, and a private meet and greet with Cub players. Details available soon at cubs.com/travel.
Look out. Oh my. That was a fastball.
Did that not hit him?
No, it didn't.
Wow. Well, that's got everybody up on the rail in the Cubs dugout. We talked about the Pirates and how they pitch inside. How does it went over him? That's scary. And any hitter will tell you, hey man, I know you got to pitch me inside, especially the way Anthony Crowd's home plate, but it's next level when it's up around the head.
And a line drive base hit. That's how you react, right? Ideally, send a rocket into the outfield on the next pitch. He's 2 for 2. Telling John Jaso, I just saw my life flash before my eyes. It's a dangerous sport.
Yeah, the psychology of it. We talk a lot about hitters and fastballs inside and how they react. It's always in the back of a hitter's mind, and after a pitch like that, it becomes much more in the front of their mind, not only for the hitter in the box but everybody in the dugout. And that's why there is value for pitching inside, and why so many great pitchers over the years have been able to intimidate.
That one gets by, and Rizzo will jog to second. Off the inside corner. It was all set up. John Lester had asked Joe Madden, hey, at some point, if it fits, can you come out and take David Ross out of the game to get a big ovation? Joe agreed, picked the right spot in the 7th inning last night, and Wilson Contreras replaced him. Kind of a symbolic passing of the baton, even though that was not the idea of it, but that was kind of the secondary point. And John will have a new catcher next year. Probably will be a combination of Contreras and Montero. I loved how Yadier Molina kind of helped David soak it all in last night. Catchers got to stick together, right?
Yeah, I think he just understood and appreciated the moment, so he took a little time and allowed that to happen.
Full count on Contreras. And Cervelli have a quick word with Cool.
I mentioned earlier the run that Cool's on, allowing 2 or fewer in 7 of 9. He hasn't pitched deep into a lot of games. Pitch count has been an issue, and a young guy, they're not going to overextend him. He pitched 6 innings in each of his last 2 starts. Pitched 6 1/3 back on August 25th, but that's the most he's gone in a ball game.
Two-out RBI chance for Contreras. See if they go right at him here with a base open. They do, and that was a changeup and a good one, and Cool strikes him out. Up strand a man at second. They lead 1-0 in the 3rd.
As he shares his thoughts on last night's setback in Dallas, as well as a look ahead to Sunday's matchup against Detroit. All of that and more on the Lance Briggs Show tomorrow at 11 on CSN.
I think it's really cool that the guy who hosts the Lance Briggs Show is named Lance Briggs.
What are the chances?
Jordy Mercer takes a strike 88 on the fastball. Dependable shortstop. Yes, Clint Hurdle kind of hinted today in his pregame session that the beat writers at Jung Ho Kang may get a little time at short next year. He played some short last year and then had that knee injury in September. Has only played third this season. While this will likely go down as a disappointing season for the Pirates and their fans, I think they're going to feel like they've got a shot to be right back in it next year. Young core. Hendricks kind of let that one go. Smart play as Russell gets Mercer. Hendricks probably couldn't get it anyway, but why deflect it, right?
Yeah,
your shortstop's going to get it.
Maybe it was last year, maybe the year before. There was a play like that, and he tried to glove it, knocked it down, and went for a base hit. And he said, well, I'll learn from that. I won't do it again. And he's very good about reading balls off the bat like that, as was the guy he's always compared to, Greg Maddux. Maddux was a tremendous defender, but one of the things he did really well was let the ball go on certain comebackers.
Nice piece by Barry Rosner in the Daily Herald. He chatted with Greg Maddux, who has watched Kyle Hendricks pitch this year, and he enjoys watching him throw. That's not terribly surprising, is it?
No, I think anybody that's ever pitched enjoys watching Hendricks pitch. Because he's so cerebral and has such good command and can really work over an opposing lineup.
And he just gave up a base hit. Maybe. Throw to first. Safe. Cool. Singles to right. It was close. That is his second major league hit.
Hayward was very shallow. The ball was sharply hit. So that put the 9-3 put out in play, but Poole was kind of aware of the situation and pushed hard down the line to beat it out.
Jaso grounded out his first time up. And he looks at ball one outside.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think the Pirates are in pretty good shape. Young core position players, talented young starting rotation. Neil Huntington, their general manager, kind of kept his powder dry this year in terms of making any real significant moves to try to upgrade the team during the season. I think they viewed this as a transition year with, yeah, if everything breaks right for us, we could be right there again. But I think he's very bullish on their future.
Two and one on the veteran Jaso. The pitch. That's lined into right center. Cool on his way to third. Throw to second. Jaso slides in with a double. And the Pirates have their biggest threat tonight. Second and third with only one out.
Second and third, and a pretty good hitter in Bell coming up, who singled to left last time he was in the batter's box. This one catches a good chunk of home plate, and Jaso jumps all over it.
Bryant even with a bag. Everybody else in about halfway. No need to play all the way in with a pitcher third. Bell takes a curve just on the outside for a strike.
Yeah, this is where Kyle will try to prey on the aggressive nature of a hitter here with a couple men in scoring position.
So we have an extra second here. Rizzo really hugs the plate. Josh Bell's the opposite. He might stand as far away from the plate as any hitter in baseball. When you pitched, what did that different look tell you about a hitter when a guy's standing
when a guy's
far off.
Far off, you know he's got to kind of close to cover the outside part of the plate. So you always thought that you wanted to take a shot inside to prevent him from diving, to make him less comfortable when he goes out to try to cover the outside part of the plate.
Go to third. Poole is back. Like a pre-planned play.
Yeah, and the other part of it with Kyle, he has such good command. You could see where his thinking might be. Well, I'm just going to run sinkers and changeups off the outside corner, really force him to have to reach to get to that pitch.
Look at that front foot. The heel is basically out of the box, away from home plate.
Yeah, and the one thing, extreme stances, whether it was way off the plate, way up in the box, real close to the plate, they just kind of freaked me out a little bit, because it's so different than everybody else, and you're thinking, well, what does this guy know that nobody else knows?
Swing and a miss. Changeup.
You see, he's adopting Plan B there, not worrying about trying to crowd him. He's just staying away, throwing that dart to the outside corner, whether it's the sinker or the changeup or the backdoor curveball. So it can give you a lot of different looks in the same part of the strike zone.
Tap back to the pitcher with the runners holding. Hendricks will get Bell. Big second out. Now he's got to deal with McCutchen, although he does have first base open. I would imagine if you're the home plate umpire, Mark Carlson, you feel a little naked back there when the batter's so far away from the plate. So McCutchen in the opposite batter's box, but you see how much closer he is to the dish. Nice knockdown by Contreras.
He's hit 24 home runs this year, driven in 75. As I mentioned, it's been an off year for him, but as that graphic indicated, much better here of late.
He was given 3 games off to start August, just to hit the reset button. He was hitting .241 at the time. 49 games since, 296 for the slash line. 296, 395, 505. That sounds like Andrew McCutchen.
That's more like it, right?
Yeah. In the air to center. It's Almora to end the inning. So Hendricks works around some trouble and still has a 1-0 lead after 3.
baseball from the all-inclusive, unique atmosphere of the rooftops across from Wrigley Field. Limited playoff tickets are available now by calling 773-248-ROOF or by visiting WrigleyRooftops.com.
Always great to have you with us. Final week of the regular season. The next Cubs win will be number 100. Be their first 100-win season since 1935. The Cubs have won 100 games 5 different times, but they were all between 1906 and 1935. Pretty much chronological order, descending from 1906, but going to try to mess that up here in 2016. I think 104 is attainable, right?
Sure,
5 and 2. And if you can get 6 out of 7, you could have the 3rd highest win total in franchise history. Jason Hayward takes a strike.
Yeah, and 100 wins is a kind of a special number. Really marks you as a great team. That just doesn't happen all that often.
Hayward hit a sac fly in the first. Rips this one foul to right. If you go back over the last month, the results have swung like a pendulum for Hayward. He had a 10-game stretch during which he hit .333. Then 7 games 0 for 23. Hit .429 over a 6-game stretch early on that last homestand, and his last 3 games 1 for 10. 3-2 on the ground into center, and that's a base hit.
Having a nice night here tonight. RBI sac fly first time. Leadoff knock here in the 4th. Yeah, the final week of the season. It kind of feels like the last week of school. You know, won't be any tests. You know, hey, can we watch a movie? Can we put on a video? Have extra recess. Because in some ways, playing for a Joe Madden team, that's the vibe all year long.
The Cubs will have 4 consecutive off days, almost a second All-Star break before the division series starts. The other thing, and I don't take credit for this, somebody pointed it out. I think it was Mark Gonzalez. With the Cubs now having home field throughout the NL playoffs, they'll only have to make 1 road trip per series. If they get past the division series, as Hayward moves to second on a wild pitch, they would have to go on the road for games 3 and 4 of the division series and 3, 4, 5 in the NLCS. Right, last year had to come to Pittsburgh, then went to St. Louis.
Yeah.
Then unfortunately didn't go back to New York twice, but it does streamline things a little bit in terms of travel. I think that got him. It did.
Yeah. I think that was a slide ball that got away from him a little bit. Whereas he threw that up and in fastball on Rizzo. This was a slider that was supposed to be running away from Russell. You see where Cervelli sets his mitt, and he just never finished the pitch. So a chance to extend the lead here. First and second, nobody out for Almora. Yet to be determined who will have the home field advantage in the other division series. The Nationals 91-64. The Dodgers are 90-66. Be a tough one to handicap.
And that should be a very good series. Since we last talked to you, the Texas Rangers clinched the American League West. Bunted, past Cool. Gong will pick it up, nowhere to throw it. There was nobody covering first base. Almora Jr. with a bunt base hit, and the Cubs have him loaded with nobody out.
Well, he catches everybody by surprise here. Rodriguez playing a double play depth. No chance he's going to get to first base in time. Jaso breaks in as he sees Almora show bunt. Great read by Almora and a really nice bunt.
So it's Baez. Pirates at double play depth. I'm trying to avoid a big inning. So the other thing about, home field advantage throughout, best record in the league, everything kind of set up. Extra rest. You got to go out and you got to win. You don't get a bye into the NLCS just because you have potential home field advantage. You got to win the division series.
Yeah, and that's the scary part. That's the nature of the postseason. Anything can happen. I'm sure fans have read the article, seen the numbers. It's a scary proposition. And the rest can be a good thing. It can also work against you. This is a game where you get into the rhythm and the flow of the season of playing every day, and all of a sudden you shut it down for 4 days.
Baez into the left field corner. Gone! That's a grand slam for Baez. A rocket into the seats in left.
I had that good long at bat last time up, and this time it happens in a hurry. One swing of the bat, line drive, home run into the left field corner. Second grand slam of his career, 14th home run on the season, and just like that, the Cubs with a very comfortable lead.
Second of his career, our Ford home run replay, and it got out in a major hurry. Kyle Hendricks rolls in the left. Single, hit batter, single, grand slam, single to start this fourth inning.
The home run coming on a low 2 pitch, and it reminded me of the home run Rizzo hit in St. Louis off Carlos Martinez on 0-2, where he got a little quieter with the lower body, but still the ability to generate that bat speed. Same thing with Baez, a little quieter with that front foot, but still an explosive swing of the bat. And that's one of those things where after the fact the hitter will tell him, yeah, I don't need the big swing, I don't need the big leg kick. A guy like Baez, strong enough, can generate enough bat speed. He has the ability to cut down on his swing and still do damage.
Ray Searage, a pitching coach, out to the mound. Cubs have now hit 5 grand slams this season. And a 5-0 lead for the Majors earned run average leader, who's now standing at first base.
Chad Poole is I'm going to have fond memories of Javi Baez. Baez whacked a comebacker off of his foot and then hit a grand slam off of him.
I'm not sure which one was more painful for Cool. Short lead by Hendricks. The pitch to Coughlin is too low. Still nobody out.
Kuhl's done some nice work for the Pirates here in his rookie season, making his 13th start, but he has not had success against the Cubs. This is his 3rd start against them, and they've had his number. Two starts combined prior to this one, he had allowed 7 earned runs in 7 1/3 innings.
Two and one. Hey, we'd like to welcome all our viewers watching on Light Stream in Pulaski and Fulton counties in the great state of Indiana. And all of us at Comcast Sportsnet would like to send our support to our friends and viewers in many parts of Iowa who have been affected by the massive flooding, which has unfortunately led to thousands of home and business evacuations over the past few days. We're by your side and thinking of you, and to support people affected by disasters like the flooding in north and eastern Iowa. As there's a ball rolled into right for a base hit. We ask that you go to redcross.org, call 1-800-RED-CROSS, or text Red Cross to 90999. Fifth hit of the inning. RBI chance for Bryant. Come on. Cubs looking for their 100th win. He's looking for his 100th RBI.
You see some symmetry there. It's all coming together.
It's like David Ross homering last night.
There'll be any number of pitchers in the National League and some in the American League too who will think back on their season performance and go, man, I had a lot of good starts, but I had my worst start against that Cubs team. It just wore me out.
Into left for a base hit. Hendricks will be held. Got to have the pitcher at second. As you see, Ben Zobrist and his teammates are laughing a little bit.
I know he's pressing, he's pushing for it. If Gary Jones thought there was any chance at all, he probably would have sent Kyle there. But the last thing you want to do is send your pitcher into harm's way in a potential collision at home plate. Nobody out.
They pronounce it Pulaski, I guess, in Indiana, not Pulaski. So my apologies. Bases loaded, nobody out. Cubs already leading 5-0, and we'll be back in a moment.
you see that the near miss home run, he pulled the ball foul first time up on the left. The home run, the 2-strike swing, and just a little subtle difference. You see the leg kick on the right with 2 strikes. He doesn't need it, or doesn't use the big leg kick. Doesn't need it. Still delivers a powerful swing and gets the jog around the bases. The anchor man on the 4x90 feet relay.
And it is a Hyundai call to the pen. 30-year-old left-hander Zach Phillips just turned 35 days ago. And he'll face a bases loaded, no out situation, and the Cubs already have a grand slam this inning.
The left-hander has seen big league time with the Orioles and Marlins in the past. This little run here with the Pirates, his first big league time since 2013.
Breaking ball strike. Hey, happy 52nd birthday, Dave Martinez, Cubs bench coach. We wished him a happy birthday on the bus ride from the airport at about 3 o'clock this morning. Fastball missed away.
How old's Davey? 52, you said? He's very young looking 52, isn't he? Davey had a very successful, long major league playing career. One day he'll get his chance to manage, you'd have to believe.
Rizzo strikes out.
I got a tick. I heard it up here. I heard something else.
Got to yell a little louder. Contreras has walked and struck out.
I wonder the last time a major league player has used the term tick.
Yeah, I used to use that a lot.
Yeah, and as a kid, I ticked it. But you don't hear that. The big, I got a piece of that one.
He's in the catbird seat now, 2-0 with the bases loaded.
Maybe he'll dial 8. I wonder if you drop that on some of the young players, if they would have any idea what you were talking about.
Three and 0.
Because you used to have to dial 8 to get long distance on a hotel phone. But nobody uses the hotel phone anymore other than call from room service. Call the bellman.
Swinging 3-0, and he's going to hit into a 6-4-3 double play. Well, Javier Baez, bases loaded, no outs, hit a rope into the seats and left, and the Cubs lead 5-0 in the fourth. A very colorful day with the Pirates wearing the throwbacks. A little fake tag as Jung-Ho Kang deked Bryce Harper, who injured his thumb. A.J. Cole then buzzed the tower of Gong the next time he came up. Cole got tossed, and whenever the bench is clear involving the Pirates, Sean Rodriguez, just based on reputation alone, I think, gets ejected.
Yeah, he had double team. He's like J.J. Watt. You've got to double team him. Keep him off the quarterback. Yeah, so you had the fake tag followed by the purpose pitch, and it got ugly.
Well, it was an awkward landing by Harper, no doubt, but you know, the idea of kind of the deking a runner, that's pretty common in this game. And
yeah, that's kind of it was most guys, they deke when they're about to receive the ball, and they act as if they're not going to, and then they'll react late. In this instance, the throw wasn't coming.
Toward the middle, Russell's got it. Out at first. Oh, what a play by Russell.
Well, add that to the montage, the highlight reel of Addison Russell. Another spectacular play.
It's the ability to get up that quickly after leaving his feet. How does he just do that?
Yeah.
And then make an accurate throw. Fastball strike on Rodriguez.
It was the end of that play. Bang, bang, but they got him.
Oh, and 2. Rodriguez has been hot as of late at the plate, and his temper was hot yesterday. But Gong really lunged to first base. It's always dangerous, really, about tweaking an ankle. Diving attempt by Bryant. Instead, it'll be Russell, and this time the throw eludes Rizzo. That'll likely be a base hit.
Yeah, that would have been something to follow up the previous play with one in the hole, and we've seen him make that play.
Might have lost my voice calling that one if he had made that play too.
He just had a little difficulty setting his feet there, and he ran out of time, so he just slung it across the diamond.
Cervelli with a man on, 1 out. Cubs lead 5-0 here in the 4th. .74 on the curve, and a strike.
Fairly common to see Kyle start to work in more curves as he gets deeper into the game. The hitter's a different look. That's been a big part of the difference between Kyle last year and this, is his ability to go through the lineup the 3rd time effectively. Looking at the numbers on Kyle earlier today. Batting average against, first time through the batting order, 204. Second time through, 203. Third time through, 204. So very consistent, very hard to hit, even when they get additional looks at him. Last year, 3rd time through, they batted 329 against him.
I almost wonder, the more times guys see Hendricks, you know, the adage is if a hitter gets a lot of looks, as you're referencing, they should be able to gain an advantage. But Kyle stays out of patterns and has so many weapons to use. You might get the hitters to think too much.
Yeah, he talked about it after his last start. He said, you know, throwing the 4-seam fastball a little bit more this year than last. I think it's just, you know, learning the hitters, understanding what their strengths and weaknesses are, and trusting his own game plan.
Cervelli has struck out both times, and now it's Frazier. Well, Kyle began the year as the Cubs' #5 starter, and it is very possible he could get the ball in Game 2 of the division series ahead of Jake Arrieta. That's the kind of year he's had.
He's allowed 15 home runs this year, only 2 of those with men on base. I mean, if you try to break him down statistically and find a weakness, I can't find one. He's got a 193 first inning ERA. Sometimes there are guys that, if you're going to get him, you got to get him early. You're not going to get him at all. Well, he hasn't given up any significant damage early.
He has set a new career high in innings. He was 1 behind last year's total of 180 going into this start tonight. Chance to maybe double his win total from last season. He'll end up making 30 starts total after Sunday's game. Three and two. Walks and strikeouts totals very similar last year to this year. Called strike 3 on a fastball. Just tied up in knots. The Pirates hitters here tonight. After 4, it's the Cubs 5 and the Pirates nothing.
Fly N-Jet. N-Jet, Chicagoland's choice of jet charter service. Just drive up and take off. For a quote, visit n-jet.com or call 888-FLY-N-Jet.
All Cubs so far tonight. They lead 5-0. They'll bat here in the 5th inning. One 1-0 on Jason Hayward.
That N-Jet, they'll pick you up right at your house.
Oh, really?
Yeah, pull right into the driveway. It's pretty slick.
They have self-folding wings.
Like a DeLorean.
Cardinals are down early 2-0 to the Reds at home. Marlins lead the Mets 7-0 in the bottom of the 4th tonight. Bartolo Colon got pulled early. Ground ball to second. It's Rodriguez to get Hayward.
Despite all those injuries, hang in there. A game up in the wild card race.
May not happen, but I'll tell you what, it is really possible. You could have a three-way tie for 2 spots. They're not giving up just yet.
Pirates, that's what Pirates do. They don't give up. They're going to continue to plunder.
One strike offering up and in. Russell got ticked by a pitch in the 4th. He ticked it.
Ticked him. He almost got ticked again. He's going to get ticked off.
Change up in the dirt. 2-1. Joe Madden has been through this a lot. Postseason runs when he was on Mike Scioscia's staff with the Angels as a manager of the Rays, and last year in his first year with the Cubs. And the thing about postseason experience can be overrated. You got to get there for the first time at some point. The Cubs did last year, but it can't hurt to have a lot of experience in the back of that brain as you try to prepare your troops for what should be a wild ride. Center field, McCutchen is back on it, and he makes the grab right on the edge of the warning track for the out.
Don't miss your chance to experience spring training at beautiful Sloan Park in Mesa, Arizona. Reserve your place in line by joining the spring training season ticket holder waiting list. It's easy and free to register. For details, visit sloanpark.com. Most people will be there.
Nomura Jr. on single and a run in the 4th, just ahead of the Baez grand slam. So the Cubs have a big roster here in September. Got to get down to 25 for game 1 of the division series. We're going to have a small taxi squad of players you will have with the team. They'll travel in case of an injury. There might be a few players on the September roster who could head back to Arizona and stay in shape just in case. A few tough decisions coming up early next week in terms of who will be on the division series active roster.
And Joe said they've had a lot of meetings and conversations, have not made any final decisions yet.
Fans and media tend to want to know these things a week before they need to. And the reason organizations, managers don't make such pronouncements is because we still have 7 games to go. You could have an injury. You don't want to tell a player he hasn't made it when he might. And you don't want to tell a guy that it looks like he has made it and then you change your mind 5 days later. Lined into right. One thing I do love about Joe is he doesn't mind the speculation. He tells the media, he goes on the score every week. He said, go ahead, speculate. That's the beauty of it. Have at it. There are some managers who might bristle at the questions. Who's going to be in your rotation? Well, I don't have to tell you now. I'll tell you next week. Well, Joe doesn't operate that way.
Yeah, and I think a lot of managers, most managers, don't like to be second guessed on their in-game decisions. And I think Joe relishes the opportunity to explain himself too. If people have questions about the way he used his bullpen or why so-and-so came out for a pinch hitter, I think Joe would rather be asked so he can explain himself as opposed to being second guessed out there. He usually does that anyway. Usually in his post-game press conference, you'll notice before it's even brought up by the writers, he'll touch on a couple key moments over the course of the game and say, here's why in a particular moment he did a certain thing.
Well, he did it last night. He said, by the way, it was John Lester's idea to take David Ross out of the game. He said, I don't take any credit for that.
Phillips not a hard thrower. You see 89 to 91. Change up and a breaking ball. That repertoire in the hair, a little bit like James Russell.
Good call. And he gets Baez to end the inning. I'm kind of thinking former NHL enforcer Chris Simon. That kind of a look. 5-0 Cubs.
The bottom half of the fifth inning, and the Cubs comfortably in front of the Pirates 5-0 with Kyle Hendricks on the mound. 8-9-1 to bat here for Pittsburgh.
One to Mercer. Similar spot. Ball 2. Alan Hansen, switch hitting infielder, is on deck.
One of the Hansen brothers.
We're getting into hockey mode. Blackhawks will be here for preseason tilt with the Penguins on Friday night.
Recalibrate, find the zone on 3-0. See if he can come back and get Mercer here. This brings a little pop to the bottom of the batting order. He's hit 11 home runs this year, driven in 59.
Hendricks pops off the mound, makes the play.
Pretty slick. Time now for the Quicken Loans Rocket Arms. Man, we've seen some good pitching here in the last couple of seasons, have we not? Dominant stretches last 2 years. Jake Arrieta, historic what he did last year. June 21st through October 2nd, 20 starts, 16-1 with an 0.86 ERA. But look at what Hendricks and Lester have done this year, both having extended streaks of dominant pitching. Hendricks and Lester neck and neck there as they battle for the Cy Young Award. Max Scherzer certainly in the conversation.
Yeah, and kind of buried in the David Ross show last night was John Lester. Just another great outing. Every home start he made in the regular season was a quality start. Hansen, 23 years old, from the Dominican Republic. He rolls to Rizzo, who will beat him to first. 2 outs. Curve in for a strike.
4 strikeouts, no walks for Kyle so far tonight. 8 outs on the ground. As is often the case with Kyle out there, there's been a lot of weak contact. Hitters off stride, off the barrel, in on the hands or down near the end of the bat.
Swing and a miss, and the inning is over. Cubs lead the Pirates after 5. It's 5-0. Insider all season long on CSNChicago.com. Presented by Nationwide's Jeff Vukovich, serving the community for 38 years. Go to jeffvuk.com. Nationwide is on your side.
Hey, there's a new pitcher in the game. Stephen Brault is his name. He's a rookie left-hander. He's pitched 7 times. 0-3 with a 4.26 ERA. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. One of 8 left-handers in the Pirate bullpen tonight. Brault's previous work coming as a starter. This is his first time out of their pen. Another one of those finesse style left-handers, not going to blow you away with velocity. Phillips did a nice job. 2 scoreless innings, allowed a hit, a couple of strikeouts.
Two, got him. Good fastball.
Register for the chance to purchase 2016 postseason tickets for potential games to be played at Wrigley Field. Go to Cubs.com/postseason to register and learn more about this postseason ticket purchase opportunity. The Cubs will conduct random drawings from among eligible fans who successfully complete the registration form. Registration period for the NLCS ends at noon Friday, October 7th.
Coghlan outside.
That's when the Cubs will be preparing to play game 1 of the NLDS against the ...
We'll find out.
Pirates a game below 500, 77 and 78. Actually been playing pretty good ball of late, but I would think it's a consolation prize, no doubt. But to finish above 500 would be meaningful. You know, they had that long run, 20 years where they didn't, and then they've been a playoff team 3 consecutive seasons.
Got hit hard, and he's on. It'll work. So 3rd time he's reached, twice on hits. Right, so 500 used to feel like a big deal. But you'd always rather win more than you lose, for sure. There may be a Pirate fan who says, doesn't matter if you don't make the playoffs, I don't care. And that, I guess, would be progress, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, Bryant picked up a single his last time up with runners at 1st and 2nd, but the guy at 2nd was the pitcher Kyle Hendricks, so he only advanced to 3rd. So Bryant still 1 RBI shy of 100. And whatever, I mean, it's not the end of the world if he doesn't get number 100, but he's got a lot of chances, so he'd like to. Sooner the better.
Yeah, and his manager would love to see him get it sooner rather than later as well, because Joe's in this period now, this final week, where he's trying to rest his guys, but he wants to give players a chance to reach some of these milestone numbers they're pursuing.
Bryant has scored 119 runs. Now tied for 3rd in the majors in that department, but only 1 behind the major league leaders. And those guys are Mike Trout, Josh Donaldson. He's tied with Mookie Betts. That gets by Cervelli. Coughlin to second. What else you got sitting around from our last broadcast off Saturday, Sunday? Anything sticking in your craw baseball wise that you wanted to get out?
No, I don't think so. I'm digging the tattoo that this guy has on his arm.
(3-2). Bryant, deep left center. That'll get it done, and it's gone. RBIs 100 and 101. Home run number 39.
And they are rejoicing in the first base dugout. Good stuff. Last year he ended at 99, and this time he breaks through.
Seven to nothing. How about the home runs tonight?
Lasers. Well, it was interesting. You know, the count runs full. Cervelli goes out there to talk to Brault. As we look at the Ford home run replay, launches that low fastball for his first home run here in this ballpark. But you could almost get into Cervelli's head going out there. Okay, base is open, 3-2. I'm going to come out here and talk to you because we're going to convince this guy that we're going to pitch around him in this situation, and we're going to sneak a piece of cheese by him to get him out. And didn't really work out that well for Cervelli. Either that or he said, hey, whatever you do, don't give in, and the kid just made a real bad pitch.
Meantime, 3-1 on Rizzo. Ball 4. Rizzo's been on 3 times. Make sure you follow In Game Live on CSNChicago.com, presented by State Farm. There's Ray Searage.
The big difference prior to this year versus last has been the pitching. Very good last year, but they have struggled this season. Starters ERA 4.72. That's 11th in the National League. Overall team ERA of 4.20, 9th best in the 15-team league. Last year they were near the top.
Tough year for Garrett Cole. Got an elbow issue. He ended up making 21 starts, 7-10 with a 388. An injury plagued campaign and a disabled list on technically 3 different occasions. Low on Contreras.
Cubs are really dominating time of possession here tonight. Forcing these Pirate pitchers to throw plenty of pitches.
Like your alliteration, and you didn't pop any peas. That will get through. Rizzo to third.
Yeah, that one stung a little bit off the end of the bat. Cracked the bat, buzzed the hands. But he got himself a knock. First hit of the night for Contreras. Second reach. He walked in the first. Slowly hit, so it takes a while to get out to the right fielder. Rizzo takes advantage. Scurries on to third. If a man that big can scurry.
Knee-high strike on Hayward. In blowout games, that's by 5 or more runs. The Cubs this year are 41-13. Bounce to third. Gong will get it to the shortstop, Mercer, and safe at second. Throw to third, safe there. I wonder if Clint Hurdle might argue that Mercer had the ball and was trying to pull it out. Doesn't look like they're arguing at this particular time. That was a kind of an awkward try because of the shift. 8-0.
Yeah, it's kind of ugly here, and Gong not sure where to go with the ball. Yeah, Mercer never had control of that baseball. And then, I don't know if Rodriguez would have had a better chance picking up the ball with a bare hand and trying to make a more conventional throw than that little backhanded glove flip that he tried.
I believe Mercer will get the error, and I also think an RBI will be given to Hayward, which is his second of the night. One. Low and inside on Russell.
Cubs with 12 hits in this ball game. Addy has not joined the hit parade. It could happen soon, though. Hitters count.
Also have a feeling we're going to see some bench players on both teams get some at bats and some reps in the field tonight with the expanded September rosters. So get your scorecards ready. 3-2.
All right, got a little greedy there on 3-1. Can't blame him. He's the only Cub who was not hit safely tonight.
You think he knows that?
He knows that he doesn't have any hits.
But you think he knows he's the only one?
No, but he may or may not know that. I'm guessing he doesn't.
He'll try to turn it again. Actually, the play will be made at the plate. Contreras dancing around, but he's called out. So Mercer, or Cervelli, able to finally get him.
Yeah, I thought he'd go around the horn there to try to turn the double play. It's a read play for a third baseman, but typically when the ball's hit right at you sharply like this, you're thinking two. But it would have been 2 long throws with a guy who runs well going down the line. He took the out in front of him.
Two hits for Almora tonight. Jaso gives it a shot and can't quite get there.
So handing the ball to the Pirate fan, not the Cub fan.
I thought he was having a little fun with those kids, but in the end he made sure to grab the ball and give it to that Pirate fan. Not a very popular move in that sea of blue over there.
Oh, it's Jonesy. That's no fun at all. Gary, and we've seen him do this. He's moving way in towards the hitter to decrease the chances of being hit by a line drive, making it a tougher angle, but obviously proximity to the hitter much closer and less time to react.
Second base umpire C.B. Buckner got smoked in that Cardinals series. Floated into right. It's down. Hayward scores. 9-0 Cubs. Second 3-hit game of his young career.
Well, that's just a little blooper, but well placed out there in the shallow right field. Contreras hit that little roller through the infield, so the Cubs doing a lot of good things tonight, also having some good fortune.
Strike one to Baez. 4th inning grand slam. Broke this one wide open. Made it 5-0. One and two.
I'm guessing Cervelli doesn't go 9 tonight.
Kind of has that vibe about it tonight, this game. Not going to make it.
Got that. Get me out of here. Skip. Body language going right now.
Base hit left field. 1 run is in. The throw to the plate is late. 2 more runs score. 11-0. Javier Baez has knocked in a half a dozen runs tonight. How about the Cubs' first-round draft picks? Baez, Almora, Bryant.
Good theme. That's a good theme right there. We need a first-round graphic, first-round draft pick damage graphic.
Cued foul by Hendricks. 11-0.
Kyle led off this inning. 1 in the first, 4 in the fourth, 6 in the sixth. Ooh, there's a theme. 1, 4, 6 in the first, fourth, and sixth.
So they've got to be done scoring here.
Go buy a lottery ticket.
So Hendricks will take the ball in the bottom of the sixth, leading 11-0. Chris Bryant surpasses 100 RBIs on the year with his 39th home run. Play left, he'll bat in Rizzo's spot. Chris Coughlin goes from left to first to replace Anthony on defense. So 72 pitches through 5. I would imagine Kyle will get here one more inning with a big lead. And if he gets into any trouble, there's some action up in the bullpen. And I don't mean trouble in terms of the game being in jeopardy, but you know, if you're Joe Madden and you got a guy with an ERA of around 2, you
get a chance to protect that.
Yeah. His ERA currently at 2.01. Now that would be interesting if he can get it to like 199 going into his final start.
That could be a difference maker with the award voters.
Ground ball through his legs, but it's right to the shortstop Russell behind second. And Bell is retired.
12 Days of Cubs continues tonight as CSN gets us ready for the postseason with 12 behind-the-scenes stories on your favorite team. Tonight, they compare last year's Cubs team versus this year's. Many faces are the same, but what's the key difference that makes this team a World Series favorite? Tune into Sportsnet Central tonight after Cubs postgame live.
Matt Joyce will bat for McCutchen. Joyce has set a major league record this year. It's a slightly obscure one. Pinch hit walks in a single season. With 21. Leads all major league players with 15 RBIs in the pinch.
So if there was a Manny Mota award for the best pinch hitter, he would probably be a finalist.
Yeah, and probably a few Cardinals would be on the list, right?
Hazelbaker comes to mind.
Inside.
Or maybe you'd want to name it the Lenny Harris Award.
This is the 80th pinch hit plate appearance. He's not hitting for much of an average, but getting on base a ton with the walks as he lines out. Yeah, John Vanderwall, Mark Sweeney, Manny Mota,
Dusty Rhodes.
right down the middle. Fastball at 87.
Jung Ho 0 for 2 tonight, but he's been hot lately. He's having a nice month of September.
Yeah. He came into the game tonight leading the National League with a 1232 September OPS. Off the end of the bat and served into left. It's the kind of hit you get when you're in a stretch like this.
Hey, in 1912, just to keep our audience clinging to this game, the Cubs had a 9-0 lead over the Reds with Jimmy Lavender on the mound. The Reds came all the way back to take the lead. But then the Cubs won it in the bottom of the inning, won it 11-10. How about that? Giving up a 9-run lead in the ninth, still winning the ball game.
1912?
1912. Not the year the Titanic sunk?
Sounds about right. You want me to Google it?
No.
Okay.
I feel pretty confident.
In the dirt on a curveball.
I watched that movie, The Gangs of New York, on the flight last night. Pretty heavy movie when you're half asleep and kind of in a daze, kind of in that traveling in the middle of the night thing.
Right. Back-to-back 2-out singles for the Pirates here in the 6th.
Did you sleep on the flight, or did you partake in video entertainment?
I napped. Yeah. Although, can you call it a nap at 1:30 in the morning? I slept. This is Jacob Stallings, backup catcher, and he's hitting for Cervelli. There you go, JD. You were all over it.
Yeah, it's you know, when you're giving up 11 and back there catching a string of pitchers and balls getting whacked all over the ballpark. It's a frustrating night.
Well, on the heels of Jose Fernandez's death, Arnold Palmer, golfing legend, passed away yesterday afternoon here in Pittsburgh from nearby Latrobe, Pennsylvania. Arnie was 87 and apparently died of complications from heart issues. The King, 7 major championships, won the Masters 4 times. Outside for a ball. 1-1, and a moment of silence here at PNC Park just before the game tonight. And he famously had a great drink named after him.
Yeah, and that's it.
Right?
You just hope that years from now, when people think of Arnold Palmer, they remember the golfer and the person that he was, and not a beverage like a Shirley Temple.
Stallings fouled it off his foot.
Shirley Temple's a drink. Arnold Palmer's a drink. Tommy John's a surgery.
Spencer Patton up in the bullpen. Stallings game-ending pinch hit RBI single Friday night in the 11th against the Nationals. And he lines to left. Bases loaded. As everyone advances just one. So 3 straight 2-out hits. I don't know about you, but I'm a little nervous. I don't want Kyle to give up a run here.
It's got ERA implications right here.
It does. Frazier now. Chris Bosio, before that happens, will head out. Rick Sofield is their third base coach, and I think he had to make that call, right? Down 11-0. You don't want to end an inning by just trying to get one. And I think he's telling Gong that very thing. Like, I got to be a little conservative here.
Absolutely. It would be folly to send a base runner there. Run yourself out of an inning. You always have to believe that there's a chance you can come back. Pretty smooth sailing for Kyle tonight, but in choppy waters right now. See if he can get out of this mess.
By the way, I tweeted about the game tonight. Channel location, starting pitchers, the whole deal. And that will hold up for Caesar. So the Cubs looking for their first 100-win season since 1935, and they seem to be well on their way as we think about the great Arnold Palmer. Well, after a really fun night in the home season finale. Cubs are up 11-0 here tonight. Frazier goes to center. Joyce to left. Hoagland with a ground ball to first. Jaso's got it. Pedro Florimon is playing short. Stallings catching. Tommy La Stella will bat for Bryant. Here we go. Feeling like March 26th, not September 26th.
Is it because of the lighter color? It just seems to me that Stallings' mitt is huge, like one you would use to catch a knuckleballer.
It does look really big. Yeah, maybe it is the contrast against the chest protector. Three and one on La Stella. Will he make the division series roster as an ace pinch hitter off the bench? Could it come down to Coughlin or La Stella? Decisions to be made. There's a walk.
Hey, Cub fans, Joe Madden wants you to own his car. Joe is raffling off his signature vehicle for charity. Raffle tickets are $100 each and are available at all remaining home games. I guess that would mean the postseason. Or, this is probably the more prudent play, 3721 North Clark Street. Full details available at Cubs.com/Joe's Raffle. I'm not sure when they're raffling that car off. So I would say go to the website.
Get in there, get a ticket. 1-0 on Matt Caesar. Kyle Hendricks' earned run average after 6 innings tonight is at 1.99. Because it's 11-0.
Yeah.
And because you are not afraid to tackle such crazy questions. If you were in Kyle's shoes and you have one start to go, would you rather be at like 202, knowing that you need like 3 scoreless innings, something to shoot for, as opposed to preserving a sub-2? Now we're getting into psychology.
Yeah.
I'm assuming he's done.
Yeah, first of all, you don't admit to anybody that you're thinking about that. All the while,
you
are
can.
absolutely thinking about that.
So, in other words, if you're at 202 and you give up a run, pitch 3 or 4 innings, and you don't make it, you go, well, it wasn't meant to be. But if you're 199,
yeah, and
like you're holding on.
You would have to guard against pitching very defensively, because what you would want to make sure you did is come out and do this, have the same approach as you've had all season long, because that's worked so well. I think if it were me, I would want to be the 202 guy shooting to get under 2.
Ground ball into center. That's the 15th Cub hit.
Cubs with the biggest run differential by a wide margin in baseball, and getting bigger and bigger here tonight. The Cleveland Indians are on the verge of clinching, right? They've got a 7-game lead over Detroit. But more bad news. Corey Kluber out of the game tonight with a tight groin.
Oh, man.
He went 4 innings, allowed 5 hits and a couple runs.
Yeah, they're leading 5-3 in the 7th. If they win, they take the division.
Who's left? Salazar's down. Carrasco's down. They cannot afford to lose Corey Kluber. And it's funny because I think when you look at it from the Cubs' point of view, all these teams that are either definitely headed towards the postseason or on the cusp, they've all had these significant injury issues that make you think, man, they're easier to beat than they were, a month ago or 2 months ago. It's almost like you get the feeling that this pathway is being cleared.
Right, and that's why when people ask me what makes you nervous about this team, what do you worry about going into the playoffs, and my answer is they will not have an 18-game lead.
Yeah, and there's nothing about the Cubs team that makes me nervous. It's just the nature of the postseason.
Right, and that's, I guess, my answer is that everything else you feel pretty good about. By the way, if the Indians win that game tonight, they will be 14-2 against the Tigers this year.
Now they lead 5-3, middle of the 7th.
Two and two. I agree with your assessment that the Indians cannot afford to lose Corey Kluber, but they're going to win their division. They are going to host the division series. Maybe they end up in the World Series, and the open of the broadcast is they lost Corey Kluber, they lost Carrasco, and here they are. So, I mean, yeah, I guess there's a slight chance they could afford to lose Corey Kluber, but it would feel unlikely that they could make a deep run without three of their top starters. You just never know. Swing and a miss, 2 outs.
It would, and I don't know much about that Cleveland team, but it would create some interesting decisions for Terry Francona as he puts his postseason roster together and how he wants to play those games. I mean, he may add a couple extra arms and just kind of go with his bullpen by committee approach as the series develops. I guess Trevor Bauer would become the #1. And then the reports out of Cleveland are that this is a mild injury for Kluber, so it might not be anything significant. But just spitballing here, if it were one of Joe Maddon's considerations as to how many pitchers to put on his roster for that first round series is, what happens if one of my starters goes out and just lays an egg early, or that's probably not very likely to happen, but maybe an injury, and so you've got to cover innings, and that's one thing he's contemplating. I just get the feeling that when it comes down to would you want one more bench guy or one more arm, I think Joe would tilt towards the arm.
Indians ranked 2nd in the American League in runs, 1st in stolen bases. Hit a lot of doubles, don't hit a ton of home runs. And they've done all this work, only getting 29 games from Michael Brantley. Cubs have all these exciting young players. How about Francisco Lindor, 22 years old, all-star with Cleveland, batting over 300. Bases loaded.
Munenori Kawasaki will bat for Addison Russell.
So according to your setup of this game tonight, if the Cubs score again, they're going to have to score 7 times this inning, or 8 the next, and or 8 the next, and or 9 in the ninth.
Yeah,
because they got 1 in the first, 4 in the fourth, 6 in the sixth. This is getting ready for the game tonight.
that's what we do up here too.
Gong bobbles it. Everybody's safe. 12-0.
All right.
Got to score 6 more.
Yeah, here we go.
It's settled in.
Well, tough night to play defense. To maintain the concentration with these long innings that the Cubs are having, but that's a play that should have been made. That'll be an E5 on Gong.
And Clint Hurdle will make a pitching change. Tough night for Brault in relief. Young guys Cool and Brault giving up all the runs so far. So changes coming for the Pirates in the 7th. We'll be back. To play third. I assume he'll bat 9th. And our Hyundai call to the pen. It is a former Cub, Phil Koch.
Pirates just acquired him recently. I'm not sure exactly why. Maybe they're thinking about next year. Want to take a look at the veteran left-hander. They got, as I mentioned, they got like 100 left-handers out there in their bullpen. And this is the 3rd consecutive southpaw to enter this ball game. Koch has worked 5 times. Pitched to a 4.15 ERA.
Acquired on Thursday from the Yankees for cash. Koch for cash.
Oh, that's nefarious. That's going to get you in trouble. Start dealing in that.
Sounds like something out of the show Narcos. All right, bases loaded, a run in.
Koch pitched 16 times for the Cubs last year. Had a 6.30 ERA.
Ball 1 on Almora.
Most of this year at AAA with the Yankees. 3 appearances with the big club there. A couple with the Pirates.
You know what needs to happen here, since we are into scripting things these last 2 days in terms of Cubs baseball. Don't make an out, Albert. He needs to walk. And Javi Baez needs to hit a grand slam for a 10 RBI night. How fun would that be?
What's the record for RBIs in a game? Somebody had like 12 or 13, didn't they? Sean Green, maybe.
The 4-homer game, possible.
Mark Whitten, hard-hitting Mark Whitten, I think. Let's look that up. RBI.
Get into the record book.
Game. Yeah, Mark Whitten and Sonny Jim Bottomley back in 1924.
Top of the zone, 2-2.
Mark Whitten did it in 1993.
Did he have a big double header?
It's funny how these little tidbits of baseball information float around in your brain.
Yeah, I remember Mark Whitten having a huge doubleheader, like 6 home runs or something.
And then as soon as you say big doubleheader, I start thinking about Nate Colbert. I don't know.
Yeah, September 7th, 1993, 4 homers in the second game of a doubleheader. First game, he knocked in 1 run, so tied for the record for most RBIs in a doubleheader, 13, with Nate Colbert.
There you go. Well, here we go. 3-2, 2 outs, everybody on the move.
Center field, Frazier makes a catch. Stretch time in Pittsburgh. Cubs 12, Pirates nothing.
And an official Cubs MasterCard debit card, only available at your local Wintrust Community Bank. Go to wintrust.com/Cubs to learn more. Member FDIC.
Pedro Strop, recently off the disabled list.
Strop 2-2 with a 2.82 ERA, on for the 52nd time. This will be his second appearance since coming off the DL. Worked an inning against the Cardinals 3 days ago. A walk and a strikeout. That's one of the priorities this final week, get him back into the flow of the season.
Pedro Florimon Pedro to Pedro, bounced foul.
You hear snippets of a conversation down there in the Pirate bullpen going over their approach against Strop. He's saying sinker slider, you know how fastball slider change and get him up in the zone.
Ground ball to Kawasaki. He's at second. Baez at short. Estella at third. Are you writing in all the changes, or have you given up?
Mostly given up.
You're more focused on content than all the minutia of the lineup changes. I totally get it. Here's Jason Rogers.
Well, that's the fun part of scoring on the iPad, though, with the magic pen here. I can just erase guys, and it gives you a little more room to operate.
Oh, and 2. Strop coming back from the knee injury. Missed about a month and a half. This is his second appearance since returning. Scoreless inning against the Cardinals in his return 3 days ago.
Hendricks tonight, 6 innings, 7 hits, no runs, no walks, 5 strikeouts.
There you go. Hendricks at 199 and a third of a run ahead of his teammate John Lester.
Yeah, and like I said, that becomes for me, and again, it's it's silly what justifies, you know, a Cy Young award or an MVP award voter, his thinking. But guy, if you're looking for separation between like candidates, a sub-2 ERA is a real attention getter.
Yeah, when you're the only one. Absolutely.
Well, he'd probably get some votes from the Pirates, who've absolutely owned this ball club this year. He will be 3-0 against them. And he will have allowed 1 run in 19 innings of work.
Rogers draws the walk.
And what did I say, 5 punch outs tonight, so 21 strikeouts, 1 walk in his 3 starts against Pittsburgh. ERA against the Pirates this year, 0.47. Don't know if our Pirates are still here. Our well-costumed Pirates. Oh, they may even have given up the ship here tonight.
They jumped ship, huh?
They did. No, they didn't.
They're still here. Or is that?
It's Chris Farley there.
I was going to say members of Poison or something.
Do you believe in ghost stories, Miss Turner?
Have a good time all the time. You know what Halloween is here in Pittsburgh? Wednesday. And Jaso strikes out. there's still time to take a tour of beautiful Wrigley Field this season. Tours are available through October 5th and may include visits to the press box, visitors clubhouse, dugouts, as well as a chance to actually step on the field. This must-see Chicago attraction houses over 100 years of history. Book your tour at Cubs.com/tours today.
What is today? The 26th? Does that sound right?
It is.
Yeah. Because I was just checking, because there's a National Talk Like a Pirate Day, and I thought, well, how ironic if that were today, but it's not. But today is National Situational Awareness Day. Situational hitting, if you want to make a baseball. It's a National Dumpling Day.
Okay. Is there a definition of the situational awareness? Is this about like aware of your personal safety when you're walking around town? Don't.
Yes, it's the foundation of one's personal safety. Focuses on being aware and paying attention to your environment.
Well, if you were walking past that guy wielding a sword, even though it's plastic, you might want to pay attention.
National Dumpling Day, National Johnny Appleseed Day, National Shamu the Whale Day, and National Pancake Day.
We got to have dueling national days, right? You're going to have two on the same day, where it's like National Angel Day and National Devil Day. Pedro Strop with a scoreless 7th. And the Cubs lead on National Dumpling Day, 12-0. Hefty home runs in the heft tonight, provided by Javier Baez with his second career grand slam. And then Chris Bryant, 2-run homer to give him 101 RBIs, and both were frozen ropes.
Yeah, a couple of loud noises. There's been a lot of damage done by the Cubs here tonight. Pretty good beat down on this Pirate pitching staff.
From Koch. He's inside. Phil's been in the big leagues since 2008. Ground ball to short. Florimon shuffling his feet to the right. Makes a play.
The most popular way to follow the Cubs postseason push is with MLB.com at BAT, the #1 app for live baseball. Enjoy game day, live game video highlights, StatCast, news, and more. Get MLB.com at BAT on your favorite devices now.
Tim Fedorovich will get a rare plate appearance. One of the September call-ups. I think this is his first action since he was brought back here in September from AAA Iowa. 13 games earlier this season with the Cubs. So his first major league plate appearance since June 12th. Koch made 16 appearances last year for the Cubs. Had a 6.30 ERA, 2 appearances for Toronto as well. And this year splitting time with the Yanks and now the Pirates. Sharply hit grounder foul. Cardinals down 14-1. Bottom of the 5th. Reds have 18 hits tonight. Votto, Duvall, Selski have homered for Cincinnati. Duvall's hit 2. Brandon Phillips is 4 for 4 as Fedorovich strikes out. Strike on Coghlan. Breaking ball misses outside. Three and one.
Hey, just so you can plan accordingly.
Yeah.
Tomorrow is National Chocolate Milk Day.
Okay. Chocolate milk and pancakes. That sounds good. Do that right at midnight.
It's also National Corned Beef Hash Day.
Who comes up with these
I have
things?
no
Is there
idea.
one council that just decides?
No, I think you're a council and you say
You declare it.
today's going to be our day.
Ball 4. Good night for Coghlan. 2 singles, 2 walks.
They've had more traffic than the what's the big main drag in Pittsburgh? Forbes Avenue. The Boulevard of the Allies.
Estella out in the right center. Coughlin toward third, and Gary Jones is not going to push it with his team up 12. That's a double.
Estella walking a double his 2 trips to the plate tonight. 16 hits for the Cubs. Wilson Ramos, catcher for the Nationals, got hurt tonight.
What happened?
He exited in the 6th inning when he landed awkwardly after trying to catch a high throw home. This is per Eddie Matz of ESPN. Before walking off the field very gingerly, he was on the ground for several minutes, grimacing in pain and clutching his right knee. I showed you that clip earlier of Harper in the awkward slide into third. He injured his thumb. Daniel Murphy's got a strained buttocks. Strasburg's got the elbow. Do you know the latest on Strasburg? What's the word out of that?
I haven't seen a
Nationals
thing.
camp?
One and two on Matt Caesar. Tapped foul.
Got to play. You know, that's the thing. These teams that are headed to the postseason, you like to wrap your guys up in bubble wrap and then open them back up when the postseason starts. But can't afford to do that. You have to keep guys engaged, keep them sharp and focused.
So here's the injury you were talking about. It's definitely
right knee.
A little scary. Gets by, and Coughlin will hold.
Should have known the Diamondbacks were going to have a bad year when they broke out those ugly uniforms in spring training. That was kind of just bad karma.
You brought it up, but as we watched that highlight, I thought, yeah, it's still not.
Still an unsettled situation out there in the desert. What they're going to do with Dave Stewart and Tony La Russa? Will they keep them on as the decision makers? Diamondbacks 64 and 91. Currently in last place in the NL West. Usually there's some action right at the end of the season before the postseason starts. MLB prefers that teams don't do make a lot of new news that would upstage the postseason. So first Monday after the season ends, you might see some changes.
Caesar strikes out. Cubs strand a couple, but that's no big deal. They're up 12. David. Time now for the PNC Bank upcoming schedule. Here's a rest of the regular season. And we're right here on CSN the next 2 nights. Friday and Saturday as well from that Cincinnati ballpark. Hector Rondon in the 8th.
Well, you might say he's overqualified to protect his 12-0 lead. But just, again, getting work, staying sharp. He has worked 6 times since coming off the disabled list here in the month of September. Did not go well last time against the Cardinals a couple days ago. He allowed 3 hits, 3 runs, and a third of an inning.
But why is it, Jim DeShays? It's probably not. It just feels this way when you are getting blown out. Reliever comes in, gives up the 4 spot in the 8th, but when you're ahead 12-0, you just kind of cruise right through it. Weird, isn't it? It feels like you're much more susceptible on the other end on a night like this. So if you're a Cub pitcher, you want to get in there. If you're a Pirate reliever, you're probably going, not so much. That is gone. So Matt Joyce to the opposite way. And the Pirates are on the board.
That was one impressive swing of the bat by Joyce. We talked about his exploits earlier as a pinch hitter this year. This is his second plate appearance tonight. He lined out to left last time, so he likes to go that way, and he goes that way with authority. Man, that's a big part of the yard to go opposite field.
So much for my theory.
Yeah, well, that's just a little backdoor slider up in the zone. That's a Ford home run replay. Well, I think there's in any kind of a blowout game, usually as you get into the later stages of the game, the quality of that bat suffer. But probably more so for the team that's getting drubbed. You know, you just kind of mentally checked out a little bit.
Sure, that.
And on the other side, you got guys that are having good nights. You know, they already got 2 or 3 hits.
David Freese pinch hitting for Koch. You got a line on Koch? I got it.
What do you
1
got?
1/3, 1 hit, 1 walk, 2 strikeouts, no runs. Two fouled off. Another ball hit well, way back and gone. Back-to-back Joyce and Freese, both going the opposite way. So 12-2, and it's Sean Rodriguez. Swing and a miss. Little anger there, I think, from Hector. 0-2.
Yeah, I imagine he's a little annoyed right now. Rodriguez having the best home run year of his career. He's gone deep 18 times this season.
Swing and a miss, strike 3. Jacob Stallings. There's some dude running the fireworks here tonight. I was thinking, I'm probably not going to have to really do much work. It is a little odd, isn't it, when you're down double digits in runs to see the fireworks go off, but I guess that's the deal when they hit a home run.
Yeah. You have to honor the home run. You could understand having a policy that said we're only going to put off fireworks if we hit home runs or if we're within 5 runs. Because it does seem a little weird. Stallings' dad is the basketball coach here in town at the University of Pittsburgh.
Slider missed up, 3-1. And rolled into left for a base hit. The scouting report on Stallings as a catcher. One thing that scouts have taken note of: when the manager needs to buy some time for the bullpen, he's your man.
Aptly named.
Here's Frazier. I'll stop. Charged by Baez down to a knee, gets it to Kawasaki. They'll only get one. I mentioned this the last time we were here, but near our field microphone is a Pirates coach. It might be Dave Joust, a Chicago native, but before just about every pitch. And he's got a nickname for all his guys. I just heard him say, "Come on, Flo." He said, "Come on, Fraze." Josh Bell, it was JB. J-So's JJ.
Yeah, everybody has some kind of a nickname in baseball. Some are really creative. Many are not. Usually if a guy has like a long last name, they just shorten it. And if he has a short last name, you'd throw a Y on the end. David Freese was Freezy.
Well, Freezy. Gary Jones is Jonesy. Brandon Hyde is Hyder. It ends in an E. You can add an R to it.
Hinsky is Ski.
Swing and a miss. The inning is over. Back-to-back homers, Joyce and Freese get the Pirates on the board, but it's still all Cubs tonight.
Of the series as the Cubs face the Pirates. Coverage begins at 5 with Sports Talk Live, followed by a brand new edition of Bases Loaded on CSN.
Here's Jared Hughes.
He's an enthusiastic right-hander. He comes sprinting out of that bullpen. I'd be gassed if I ran as hard as he did from the bullpen to the mound. Bundle of energy out there. His 64th appearance comes tonight. He's 1-1 with an ERA of 3. Sinkers and sliders, changeup. Usually gets a lot of outs on the ground.
Hughes to Contreras. And a strike. you're in the Cub dugout, you're going, come on, Willie.
I would nickname him Extra L. That would be my nickname for him.
Yeah, that's 3 syllables. 2 max, right, for a good nickname?
Well, there's a nickname that, there's multiple layers of nicknaming. You can give a guy a long nickname that you don't really use. Like back in the day, there was Death to Flying Things Ferguson, the outfielder. I doubt that anybody would.
Right.
Hey, what's up, Death to Flying Things?
It's kind of second level nicknaming.
Yeah. Or Hugh, losing pitcher Mulcahy. I didn't use that very often. Now,
2 silhouettes on Deshays is Chris Berman's nickname that he stuck on you, but no one's going to say, hey, silhouettes on.
Now, here's one, the Big Hurt, right? Frank Thomas. Did anybody ever? I think he was referred to as the Big Hurt, and people might have called him Hurt, but I doubt that anybody said, hey, what's up, Big Hurt?
Right. Contreras hustling, but he's thrown out by Florimon.
Randy Johnson, the Big Unit.
Right.
People would call him RJ or refer to him as the Unit, but I mean, say, hey, what's up, Big Unit?
There's Chapman getting ready for a non-save spot. So to take this all full circle tonight, I think you, as president of our council, should come up with National Nickname Day.
I like it.
But will it be September 26th? Would we have to then petition for next year?
We're going to check the calendar to see when there's a light, because you don't want your day overshadowed by like Pancake Day and things of that nature.
I suppose we should find out if there is such a thing as National Nickname Day already on the books. And if they have all their paperwork filed and that sort of thing, because we can get our lawyers on this. Hayward out into deep left center. And it drops down as he'll head to second. He's got a double. He's had a good night. 2 hits, 2 RBIs, so far 2 runs.
Yeah, very nice night. Couple of knocks, sac fly, a walk. Pirate pitchers have made 220 pitches in this ball game. They've walked 6, allowed 17 hits. Cubs have thrown 143 pitches.
Line shot, center field. Hayward to third. The hit parade continues.
See, that's the other part of it too. You get into a blowout game like this, and the idea of knocking somebody off the plate, that moment has passed. You know, the damage has been done, so you don't really have that in your arsenal as a pitcher.
Yeah, good point.
And you got a bunch of comfortable hitters up there.
Cubs have tied their season high with 18 hits April 21st in Cincinnati. Cubs won that game 16-0. That was one of Chris Bryant's big games. 4 for 6 with 6 knocked in, 2 home runs. That was the Arrieta no-hitter.
This game now has the vibe of a spring training B game played at 10 o'clock in the morning. Not many folks in the ballpark.
The announced paid crowd tonight, 20,519. There may be 5,000 or 6,000 max at this point. Swing and a miss by Almora. It's 2-2.
Sense a little sarcasm in the "Let's Go Bucks" chant.
So our viewers on Twitter are telling us that National Nickname Day does not exist. So
it's wide open for us.
I think we should look into it. We meaning you. I grab all the mail that says Len and JD. So I think that in fairness.
Well, we're going to find we're going to look up Noodles Hahn, since that's a great nickname, and we'll make whatever his birthday is will be National Nickname Day.
Oh, I love that idea. Okay. Another foul. That is April 29th, 1879 he was born.
There you go.
So we should make April 29th National Nickname Day. Could this be like a common law marriage? Should we just declare it and then over the course of time it just becomes that because we two Cubs broadcasters said it's
we'll see.
so?
We'll throw it out there and we'll see if we'll see if it'll go viral.
To the shortstop. Florimon and Rodriguez team up, and that will end the inning. But we got a lot accomplished. We got National Nickname Day all set for April 29th, 2017. Beverage Depot, we're giving it to Kyle Hendricks as he has whittled down his earned run average to 1.99. Benny's is the official champagne provider of the Chicago Cubs.
Just rolling right along, dealing like always. 6 shutout innings. And Strop, Rondon, and now Aroldis Chapman into finish things up here. 4-1, 36 saves and 39 tries with the Yankees and the Cubs combined.
hit 104 last night on the radar gun.
16 saves since joining the Cubs. Threw 20 pitches last night in a scoreless inning. Had a walk and a strikeout. He had not pitched in 6 days prior to last night's appearance. Slide ball.
Yeah. A strike on Rogers. I think National Nickname Day is now trending on Twitter. And we are efforting to try to get word to Lester Holt to ask the presidential candidates about that idea and see if they support it tonight. So we're working on it. It's moving fast. Outside.
That's 3 consecutive off-speed pitches for Chapman. First pitch slider. I think the last 2 were attempted sliders as well. So that's the advantage of being in this situation. So he's working back-to-back days, but this is obviously a blowout game. So he can go out there and tinker a little bit with his 10-run lead. Use his slider a little bit more. You know, with an eye towards perhaps being a little bit more diverse in his approach in the postseason, or at least having confidence in those pitches.
Just noticed the JF-16 on Chapman's cap, obviously in tribute to Jose Fernandez. They spent some time together in the offseason, both hailing from Cuba.
Whoop. This where the real fun could be for Chapman, throwing something other than a fastball in what are normally considered to be fastball counts, especially for a guy who throws 103 miles per hour. Throw the slider or the changeup on 3-2.
Kawasaki to Coghlan.
Guess you don't want to get too cute out there when you got his arm. That old adage about not wanting to get beat with your second or third best pitch. I'm not sure I buy that philosophy. Sometimes it's important, even for a guy with his arm, his velocity, to come off that fastball a little bit.
I want to see him flip one up there at 74. Is he even capable of doing it? Everything he throws is pretty hard.
Yeah, I'm sure he could throw a little
lollipop one up there.
Spin a little, yeah. Little flip curveball.
Jaso might swing 3 times. It's over. The Indians have clinched the American League Central. 7-4 the final in Detroit. First division title since 2007.
Do you like Terry Francona for manager of the year in the American League?
I think he'd be pretty good choice. I like. Yes. Jeff Bannister didn't do anything to deserve not winning it again, but and I think the same about Joe Madden, but it's tough to repeat for that award. And yeah, I'd say Tito. National League, what do you think? Dave Roberts?
Yeah, probably Dave Roberts. I got it, but if the Mets get in,
TC. Swing and a miss. Strike 3, 2 outs.
John Farrell will get some consideration for the turnaround they've had in Boston. Team won 78 ball games last year.
Absolutely. Bell with 2 outs. Swing and a miss. Is that a changeup or a slider?
I think that's the changeup.
Okay.
And a little fade. So he's having some fun out there tonight. I wonder how many appearances he's had where he's used his secondary pitches more than his fastball, because I believe that's the case here tonight. There's another changeup. So I'm sure this was discussed with Chapman and Chris Bosio and Joe Madden. Here, let's give him a situation out there in a comfortable lead where he can go out and mix it up a little bit. And the first one was a changeup.
Well, I think he's got to throw some heat here, JD. Bryant went over the 100 RBI mark tonight. The Cubs are trying to win their 100th game, and how about 100 miles an hour here to end it?
Yeah, right on the dot.
101, and this will end it. That is win number 100. Cubs win. Cubs win. First time since 1935. They've gotten into triple digits. What a season. What a night. 12-2.
They just continue to check all these boxes. Now a 100-win season. Bryant gets over the 100 mark in RBIs. Javi Baez with the grand slam drives in 6. Cubs bang out 18 hits in support of Kyle Hendricks here tonight.
Well, that was fun. And we happen to be back here again tomorrow, so let's have some more fun. Our coverage starts at 5 o'clock with Sports Talk Live, and then JD and I will have Game 2. Noodles Deshays and I will have Game 2 of this 4-game series. So, for our entire CSN crew here at PNC, Len and JD saying so long and stay tuned. Back in Chicago, they're getting set for Blue Cross Blue Shield Cubs post-game live. 12-2 Cubs, your final.